Welcome to Justice Losers, the podcast where we discuss entertainment media, namely movies, TVs, and comics. I'm your host, Preston, joined as always by my delightful co-host,
Bash Matt.
Matt, what should people do?
Like, subscribe, and check out our Instagram highlights.
I hate myself. What are we talking about today, Matt?
We're talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Marvel Cinematic Universe?
So, the first three phases all were kind of building up this giant Infinity Saga.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people are speculating about what the next big bad might be.
I've been thinking about this a lot, too, because, I mean, you can't really approach it the same way. Broadly, how they handled it was that Thanos was pulling the strings, like, because the Loki and the, what's the dude, the blue dude? Ronan, yeah, like, string puller. And he was a commander.
Yeah.
And a mastermind. Those were two.
Yeah.
It was two of the villains. And so now I got to think about it. It's like, if you're going to keep this entertaining for the next one. Oh, yeah, if that doesn't make sense, go to our last episode, which we talk about villain archetypes. Do you do the same archetypes again? Because it's just repeating the same thing. Like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's two theories on who it's going to be. Kang the Conqueror and Mephisto. Those are the two.
Yeah. There are other ones that could fit the bill. You could get someone like a Doctor Doom in.
Right.
You could get like a Nihilus in.
But at the moment, the two that are very closely related to what we have at the moment are Kang the Conqueror and Mephisto.
Yep.
Mephisto... What's his deal? He's just a magic user that just wants to kill everybody, right?
He's basically sort of the Marvel Universe version of the devil. So he's like a primordial being that was. So his goal is to just the universe,
create chaos. And...
yeah, he's just kind of an evil dude. He comes up in different interpretations.
Do you think it would benefit Marvel to do a villain that is not a sympathetic villain? Because they really hammered that home in the last few movies with Thanos. It was like, I kind of understand why you're doing this. You're doing it for a good reason from your experience of watching an entire civilization crumble because of overpopulation. And you're an evil person. Like, they didn't hide that he was a bad person.
Yeah, no.
But they explained, like, he came and he was willing to sacrifice what he loved for this. Do you think it would benefit Marvel to do a Mephisto where it's just like, I just want to kill people and be evil and be crazy?
Because then it's fun.
Because then it's like, it's the same reason why, why Joker is such a terrifying villain is because he just wants to kill people. And there's no, you can't reason with it. He's just chaos and just has no empathy to stop what he's doing, that it is just, oh my God, he is so powerful and just wants to kill everybody. We are in so much danger. I think that's the appropriate way to go from this.
Yeah. And I think Mephisto also makes sense from a different direction, that a lot of these guys, King the Conqueror, Annihilus, a lot of these guys are a little more, not cosmic necessarily, but sort of in that sensibility where it's like a
grand.
Yeah, grand in more of a sciencey kind of direction. So I think it would make sense for them to switch directions and go something a little more magic. Especially
if they're leading the charge with WandaVision and Doctor Strange.
Yep, and even the Loki show.
Yeah, right. And like that is the way I feel it should go. To keep it fresh, you gotta go like a realm that the heroes are just not familiar with.
Yeah. And so opening up like magic and the multiverse.
You put Falcon against literally the devil, what's he gonna do?
Falcon punch.
Here's my explanation of my ideal, how they would go through this. So things happen in the upcoming movies. And then in Spider-Man, so Doctor Strange plays a somewhat larger role. And I don't know whatever happens in Spider-Man, but something happens where Spider-Man tears basically a hole in the multiverse and multiversal things start happening. I almost said multiversity, but that's a DC thing. Multiverse things start happening, and Doctor Strange's like, stop it, and it's like piecing things back together, and things get wacky, and you start seeing like characters, like people from other universes, and it becomes a multiverse of madness and chaos. And then you get into Doctor Strange, and he's like trying to piece this nightmare back together. But because of all of this mystical multiverse shenanigans, it draws the attention of Mephisto, and Doctor Strange is like, oh shit, he's noticed us. Maybe it's like, due to whatever ended in WandaVision, Wanda might also be tangentially responsible for this.
Right.
Maybe Spider-Man's not responsible for it. Maybe you just get the results of WandaVision in some way in Spider-Man, and things are happening without him knowing, and it's like, what's going on? And they do like a one-off line explaining WandaVision real quick. Then you have, from that point on, is Mephisto's just doing things. Like, he's like, it's less of setting a stage and more of the following movies are all effects of something Mephisto did. He does something big in Multiverse of Madness, and every single movie from then on is dealing with a tiny little aspect of what he did. And then it's just that for like phase 4 and 5 essentially is like the, and then like the big Avengers movies are him like kind of amping it up until they keep stopping him, and he gets like really pissed off and he directly assaults them. It's the perfect opportunity for Doctor Strange to just go nuts, because he's the sorcerer. He's the powerful one. And he's also the
supreme sorcerer.
Like, and so it's him, like, imagine Bucky and Falcon trying to fight this, and like they can't as it is. So Doctor Strange is doing like magic to make it in such a way that they can actually like do things. Basically, like they can't perceive what's going on because it's all this. So Doctor Strange has to basically personify what's happening in front of them. So they're punching something, but they're not actually really punching anything. They're doing something that's having an effect, but to them, they're just punching something because that's all they can really perceive. They're just these foot soldiers. And he's just like in the back, like controlling everything, trying to make sure everyone can contribute. Like same with Spider-Man. He can't perceive any of this stuff. So he's just like, Spider-Man, go do this thing. And Spider-Man is like doing something from point A to point B, but he's not actually doing that. He's doing something else, but he's perceiving it as that because it's just madness in magic.
That would be really trippy.
It would be. Because it's a different structure of handling the big bad. Instead of the big bads building something, they are now reacting to the big bad and just trying to keep up and to like pissing him off to the point where then he assaults them directly.
Yeah. I think my concern would be that Mephisto would get stale really fast if he's kind of the driving force in all of these.
Well, that's fair. But I think that the point is that you don't see Mephisto all the time. Like, he does a big thing.
He opens some portals, and then King the Conqueror pops out in Quantumania and is trying to conquer.
Right, kings. And then so people deal with them. Like, he's creating these problems. Okay. But you only see Mephisto maybe 2 or 3 times. Right. In the big movies where it's like, I mean, or it doesn't even have to be a big movie. They don't have to do, like, the Avengers kind of, like, big conclusion. It's... God, at the end of Quantumania, it's a end credit scene of Mephisto going, what happened to my toys? All right, trying again. And then just does a thing like in 30 seconds that just sparks the next phase of people dealing with problems. Yeah.
No, I could see something like that because
they're not going to go with Mephisto, and this entire episode's going to be completely moot. Right.
I don't know. I think they might just throw some stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Again, I'm sure they have plans, but I'm sure they have some flexibility.
But they do know how well it went the first time to just see what people are drawn to.
Yeah, they did it right once. They can probably do it right again. Yeah. There are some things they need to deal with. They need to figure out how to introduce the Fantastic Four and the mutants.
Well, I mean, then that's a great way to, like, he could be the reason that these things show up. Not necessarily that every movie is our character fighting a cause or a thing that Mephisto did. The characters could be the thing that Mephisto did. Yeah. Like, the X-Men movie could literally just be like, what happened? what are these things in my hands? And suddenly mutants, like and maybe it's mutants fighting each other. Like they're trying to figure out what's going on. I don't know. Wolverine. Oh, I mean, you've got Professor X and Magneto, two dudes that just hate each other, suddenly get powers, and it's because of Mephisto. But now you just have internal conflict that is sparked by what Mephisto did at some point.
I kind of wonder if they're even not going to do a big bad. They might just fragment the multiverse. Maybe Mephisto does show up in Doctor Strange and break stuff, but then they defeat him. But then there are long-lasting ramifications. The universe is broken in certain ways, and it opens up doors to new worlds. You can go into a world where there have been mutants forever, or go into a world where people have been recently given mutations. You can introduce a world where the Fantastic Four have been like the heroes, the Avengers or something.
Yeah.
And they come into this new world and they're like, oh, it's all these other people.
I feel like that's going to be, if they do it that way, where every movie is really just self-contained and there's not a conclusion, it's going to be, people are going to start dropping off.
I don't know. Yeah. I think it's probably too early for big ramifications to show up at least.
Okay. Well, and that's what I was saying, is that like all these movies are their own until Multiverse of Madness, which is next year, right?
That's early next year.
Yeah.
I still think that's going to be way too early because like the Infinity Saga was 11 years.
Yeah.
And for the first probably 4 years, we didn't even know what direction it was going. It was just, oh, look, fun superhero movies.
Yeah.
And then if you're really paying attention and really dialed into the comics and the stories, you could kind of be like, oh, okay, so Thanos is back there. Thanos there's that story where Thanos wanted to get all the Infinity Gems. That's probably going to be the thing.
Right. And then he did. Yeah.
But that wasn't really made available to the actual movie watchers until 6 years into the MCU.
Well, but that's also like, again, to me, it's not using the same formula twice.
Right.
I feel like it would be creative to, and it's not really necessarily risk taking, especially if they have their plan from the beginning.
Yeah.
It's creative to whiplash us with just another big bad villain immediately and go like, oh my God, they don't even get a break. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it could be.
Maybe Mephisto's attention was grabbed by the Infinity Saga.
Yeah.
He goes, oh, this is interesting.
It's pretty attention grabbing.
I want to kill them. Look at these people that did this thing. I want to prove that I'm more powerful. And so he spends the next 11 years wearing them down by just messing with them and
threats,
threats and little things here and there. And so it's less of a what's going on. There's things happening and more of like, oh my God, we got to stop this guy. And then you make that fatigue part of the story is that Mephisto doesn't necessarily get stale. It's just like after 10 years, you're like, they're never going to beat him. They're never going to just all like for 10 years, we've been watching these movies of them just like one step forward, two step back, or like two step forward, one step back. And like, they're never going to get to him. And then you make it interesting at the end where like they finally get to him and then make it a thing. And I think it's a new way of doing it.
It's true. Yeah. And regardless of what they do, whether it's Mephisto or some other villain or no villain at all, they definitely need to change the formula somehow. If they do the same, I think that the worst decision would just be, oh, let's do Annihilus and let's do it the same way where he comes in and he needs to do his thing and we'll set him up slowly over a bunch of movies. Yeah. Some way to keep it fresh and keep it moving and change the nature of the universe.
Yeah, change the cadence. Write your theories. Send us your theories on what you think there are going to happen. Like if you have inside knowledge, unlikely, but on what these movies are going to do. What would you like to see? What would you like the same formula? Would you which is valid, that formula worked? Do you think magic is too out there to base a whole villain on and to base an entire new saga on? Like, do you feel like it's just too unreachable and ungrounded? Let us know. Hey guys, Preston here. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you liked what you saw here, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you know when we upload these every Thursday. If you want to hear more, we have an unabridged version on Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, and any other podcast app. Check us out on Instagram at JusticeLosersPod. See you next week.